Welcome to Behind Their Success. Get inspired, enlightened, and empowered by the raw and authentic accounts of triumph over challenges. Welcome to the first episode of Behind Their Success, and today I have a very special guest with me, a good friend of mine. He is a keynote speaker, communication consultant, and an executive coach. He has his own talk show called Opening, who he has interviewed a lot of successful individuals, business leaders, such as George Goh, the founder of Harvey Norman Ossia, Mustafa Kamal, the founder of Black Hole Group, and many alike. So today, I'm very happy, proud, and privileged to have my good friend here, Abu Sofian, on set. Thank you so much for coming, bro. Oh, clap, huh? This is the first episode, first guest, and I'm really happy to have you here, brother.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for the longest time. I think for many months already, actually. Been bouncing this idea of you, and finally, you're on set. This beautiful studio.
Finally materialized in front of us. It's a great place, by the way.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming all the way to Toa Payoh from the north. So, yeah, how have you been so far?
Good, I think that there's a lot to be grateful for, and I think that I'm very happy to be on the show.
Awesome. Okay, so today you know what this talk show is all about. What will our conversation be?
Yeah.
We'll go dive deep into your past. What are you doing now? Your vision and everything. But let's start off with, who are you? I think a lot of people might have heard about you, might have seen you, might have learned a thing or two from your videos, but they don't really know who are you exactly and what is your past. So maybe you can share a bit more.
Who are you? Such an existentialist question. Well, I think the question is quite straightforward. So I'll give a very straightforward answer. I help people to find their value and to communicate it to other people. So I think when you ask me that question, I can also go a little bit deeper in the sense that what's my history a little bit about. I grew up an introvert. I probably still am an introvert. Are you an introvert?
Yeah, I am. I am an introvert. A lot of people didn't believe me. But I'm introvert, but we become extroverted in certain situations, I guess, when it needs to, but we always fall back to our safe space.
So I grew up an introvert. I still am, I would say, even though people don't believe me when I tell them that. But we need our energy. So I grew up an introvert, and I grew up with interesting experiences. One of them would be I actually moved to Malaysia when I was in Sec 1. So 13 years old, we moved to Malaysia, and every single day we'll travel to and fro from Malaysia to Singapore. And we would travel to and fro so that I can go to school. All the way until I remember when I was about 17 years old in Polytechnic, Ngee Ann Polytechnic, and I remember my friends asked me out, Sofian, come, let's go to King Albert Park, let's have McDonald's. And I said, sorry, I can't join you guys, I have to go back home, it's going to be jammed. So I didn't have time to hang out, spend time doing all that. I didn't have time to spend with friends. So I had the time on the bus, so a lot of it was traveling. Yeah, and the traveling kind of shaped me a lot because in my bag, I would have extra clothes, I would have sometimes torchlight, I would have all these things that in case I'm not going back home, I'm staying over someone's house.
Torchlight?
Yeah, like in case I need all these things, right? Toiletries, right, towels. Sometimes I will have these things in my bag because sometimes I don't plan to go back home. I plan to stay at someone's place. So because of that, I had this very nomadic mindset where I'm not here for permanent. I'm a traveler.
Interesting.
It really shaped how I see the world. Like I'm here as a traveler, and everywhere I go, everyone I meet is teaching me something. Yeah. And at 17 years old, that's quite a big realization.
So because of the detachment, I would say, of not spending time with your friends, was that one of the main reasons why it shaped you to be an introvert now? Or it actually went way before, like your upbringing in terms of how your parents raised you, like maybe you can share a bit
I think
more.
that's a great question. Like, are we born introverts, or is it something that we develop into? I think a little bit of both. Grew up, I remember when I was young, this was at a kindergarten. I shall not mention names. I mean,
Where else?
but I was in school, and my mom told me that when my teacher spoke to me in English, I just kept quiet. Only when my teacher spoke to me in Malay, then I would say something, I would respond. And I said, huh? Really, Ibu? Betul I macam gitu? I said, yeah. But look at me now, look at you now. You're talking most of the time in English. You don't even talk Malay.
Yeah.
And I realized that ever since I was very young, I was very shy, introverted. And as a result of that, you kind of have to learn how to be assertive and speak your mind. Right? We don't really know how to speak, how to communicate, how to persuade. And because of that, I had to learn. And the learning was when I was 17.
Learning was yours? Was
because I joined a public speaking competition.
Is it the Toastmaster?
That's right. So it was a competition in Ngee Ann Polytechnic when I was 17 years old. It's called Speechcraft. So at 17, I saw an ad. I said, like, what is this Speechcraft? Okay. And
that was during year 1?
Year 1, Poly.
Yeah.
And I decided to join the competition. And here's the thing, I didn't really have much experience speaking. I was a prefect counselor in school, but I didn't really do public speaking.
Back in secondary school?
I was a prefect and counselor.
That's about it.
That's about it. Maybe IT, but yeah. OHP. OHP, what is that, right?
People long time, huh? Okay, got it.
I did a lot of, it took a lot for me to even join the competition. But I remember joining, and that competition shaped, it was what we call in coaching like an identity shifting moment. It changed how I saw who I am. It changed how I believe about myself, whether I think I can do it or not, whether I am this person or that person. Like, who are we really, right? You ask me to say, who am I, right? Who's to say that you're not someone that is confident on stage? You just haven't clocked in the mileage yet, right? Who's to say you can't run a business? You just haven't had conversations about business enough. Who's to say that you can't be a real estate agent? You just haven't met people who gave you the push. So at 17, that competition changed because I entered, we were mentored, and they taught us how to speak in a way that people will listen to you. How do you project your voice? How do you speak with confidence? But not just that, the structure. So there's a science and an art. So during that competition, I didn't know how it happened, but I got first place.
Wow.
Yeah, we got champion. I won the speaking competition. And it changed. Everything just changed. It was a breakthrough.
So that was your breakthrough, or that was the pivotal moment where you know that this is really your passion. Yeah, because before that, you didn't even think that you are able to speak well, communicate well, you know, up until Speechcraft, is it?
Yeah,
Speechcraft.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So from then on, was that the start of your aspiration of in becoming what you are right now, or who you are right now?
There's a sigh. At 17, we are all asking ourselves, who am I really? Because people are going to university. Some people end up going to university. Some people end up going to JC, junior college. Some people already know what they want. At 17, I didn't know what I want. I didn't know who I want to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But I did know this, that I wanted to find that reason. Yeah. So I was on a search. I began on this search at about 17. So here's the thing. I don't think this has been public before. I remember at 17 years old at Ngee Ann Poly, I was more interested to go to the library, borrow audio tapes and books on leadership, coaching, speaking by Anthony Robbins, Robin Sharma, John C. Maxwell, all these people. At 17 years old, I was more interested in that than studying my course, for my course, which is pharmacy science. I studied sciences. And it was a sign. There was a sign like, maybe this is something.
Interesting. Okay.
Like,
reason why I asked, because for me at that age, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to be in business, but I just don't know what exactly will I be doing. You know, it can be anything. It's a wide spectrum. You know, right now I'm doing real estate agent. You know, I'm managing media team and everything. But at that point of time, I just know that I want to do business, but I don't know what I want to do. So that was the pivotal age where I knew what I want to do or what I'm capable of. So that's why I asked you whether was that the age where you know that you are going towards this direction, just that you don't know how to do it, or you don't know where exactly, is your landing point?
I think you were in a better position. I didn't know what I wanted even. Yeah, but I guess I stumbled my way. Stumble your way through to find. And I think the lesson for me is that if you don't know what you want to do, the simple thing is look for clues in things that you rather spend your time on.
And at that age, how has your family contributed in this search?
Wow, okay. Because we were traveling so much,
Yeah.
we spent most of our time on the road. I learned so much from my mom and my dad. Obviously, I think our family matters because they affect our worldview, they affect what we believe we can or cannot do. So for me, my mom has always been someone that I admire a lot because of her courage. So she has a lot of courage, she has a lot of tenacity, a lot of resilience. Can you imagine? 3 a.m. because we wake up 3 a.m. when it's Ramadan, fasting month. So she has to wake up at 3 a.m. to cook for us.
Yeah.
By 4 o'clock, we're out of the house. Because we need to cross the causeway to avoid the jam. So we'll reach Singapore in time for Subuh prayers. And then we can have breakfast. And then we go to school. And I remember very clearly, our house in Malaysia was a walk away from the nearest bus stop. And near our house, like it's just a stone throw away, is a cemetery.
Okay.
It's a graveyard. So she has to walk past the graveyard every single day
4 a.m.
at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? To take the bus. Because we have to walk to take the bus stop. And it's dark. It's pitch black, man. It's like...
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not many people know this. Yeah. So there's a struggle that
includes you.
She had to do it first because we had school bus.
Yeah.
Right. So the school bus would come and fetch us.
Okay.
But for her, she had to take the other bus. So I remember sometimes she was very scared to even do that walk, what, night walk? Like night walk, right?
Yeah.
So she would she would baca lah. She would read some prayers and pluck the courage to do that.
What was she doing?
So she's a clerk at a construction site. She still is. She's still working. So the what I learned from her was that, hey, my mom, so much courage and she takes a lot of responsibility for the family in that sense. My dad inspired me in another way. My mom, I learned a lot about responsibility, about having the courage to do things, and loyalty and dedication. Yeah, I learned a lot about that from my mom. From my dad, he was a poet. So he wrote poems. He wrote songs for artists like M. Nasir, certain Malay.
Any popular song?
Yeah, so the song that he wrote for M. Nasir was Kepadamu Kekasih.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that song.
His dad is responsible for that song.
So it's actually a poem.
Yeah.
It's a sastra, and it's about a lover's message. So you can interpret it as puppy dog love, marriage, man and woman, or you can interpret it as your relationship with the divine. Right? So a lot of people were really into it. So he inspired me because he's a creative. So he's still writing to this day, Firdaus.
Yeah.
To this day, he's still writing poems and books. He's 77 this year. So what I learned from him was always be creating stuff. He will think of ideas, poems, and he come out with poems every day. He writes every day.
How long has he been retired?
He probably retired 60s, I guess. Yeah. So he was a Berita Harian reporter.
Previously?
He worked for Berita Harian. They call it Warta Hib, wartawan hiburan. Right. And he would create stuff, he write, he meets a lot of people, a lot of artists. Siti Nurhaliza, a lot of people. So I saw for myself, right, how my father influenced me by teaching me that you can actually get people together, you can build community, you can network with people. So, and he ran his own business, printing business with my mom. So I didn't know it at that time, but their life example affected me till now. I never saw myself running a business, which is what I do now.
Yeah.
Like you saw yourself being a business owner. I didn't see myself like that at all.
Okay.
But I realized growing up, I saw them running the business as a young kid at Golden Village, that area. They had their office there.
Golden Village. No,
The-
Golden Landmark is the Golden Village Cinema. Village,
Golden
yeah,
Landmark.
Village. Golden Landmark. Village
Golden
Hotel.
Landmark, yeah.
Yeah.
So Golden Village, wrong company there. But I remember because that building had a lot of reflective
Yep.
surface.
Yep.
In my memory, right, as a kid, I remember seeing a lot of reflective surfaces.
Yep.
Walking down, and they were running the business, printing business. And
Wait, how old was it?
probably like maybe 5, 6, maybe 5 or 6 years old.
So actually,
Yeah.
that small inspiration comes from those tiny moments where you see all these when you were little.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Which is what we don't realize, but it actually impacts us.
Yeah.
So now that I have a daughter,
Mm.
and inshallah having a son
Yes.
next week.
Yes, next week we
Alright.
managed to catch you a week before your wife gives birth.
So now that I have a daughter and a son, I can see that whatever I do, my daughter will always look at me,
Yep.
and she's gonna follow every single thing I do.
Yep.
And she'll be playing, but she'll be like looking at me at the corner of her eye, seeing what I do, and say what I say.
Yeah.
And I realize she's following that. So yeah, I guess it's the whole intergenerational. Some people call it intergenerational trauma. I call it intergenerational influence, right? Whether good or bad,
Yep.
it's going to impact your kid.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then how you speak to your wife or treat your wife, she will also be looking at it. And probably that's how she will speak to others as well.
Interesting you mentioned this, because I remember a scholar came to Singapore. His name is Sheikh Muhammad Aslam. He's from the UK. He came down to Singapore and he said this, one of the best ways to love your children is to love their mother. Because if you want to show love to your children, you have to display words of affection, acts of service to the mother, because that's how they learn what love is. And when they see that being modeled in their family, my father, my mom, then they will know how to display that. And not just that, they will know how to accept that from others. So for example, if you're so used to people giving you a lot of gifts, you take that as a way of you feeling love.
Yeah, your love language.
Your love language, so to speak, from Gary Chapman, right? So I saw in my parents like words of affirmation, a lot of physical affection, a lot of acts of service. So that was my how I learned, and until this day, it still shapes.
What was your number one love language?
Wow, that's a secret.
This kind of question. I'm just curious, because like you said, your upbringing actually kind of shaped to who you are today. For me, I suck at what do you call it? Gifts. Because I didn't grow up in a family where we make it a norm where we give each other. So I just don't know how to act when someone give me anything. Yeah, so definitely that's not.
So you felt awkward whenever someone were to give you. So if someone were to give you a gift, what would you do?
How
do you
respond? I'll feel very awkward. I mean, I'll say thank you and everything, but I cannot express the full emotion.
I see.
I think my number one love language is actually words of affirmation and then acts of service.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say my number one is still words of affirmation.
Yep.
Just like you. And it used to be like physical affection, but now I realize what's second is acts of service as well.
Oh, similar.
Yeah,
Same.
Man. Yeah, man.
Now I know.
So it's the same.
Okay.
So it's
I'll
still
keep telling you good things.
Yeah, no need to give us gifts.
Yeah, that's why for birthday sometimes I just don't like when there's surprise and everything. I just say no lah, just tell me I'm good enough, I'm doing well, I'm fine. So I think for me having that love language is really how I was being brought up, because I think I have big ambition, so I just want people to appreciate that I'm doing the right thing, acknowledge I'm doing the right thing. So I think that's where it comes about lah. Yeah, I think for us, gift is it's not a priority.
But it's interesting because in the line of work I do, which is coaching as well, when I work with my clients, right, we always go in deeper into why you are who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what motivates you to be like that? For example, let's say our words of affirmation is our primary love language. How did that come about?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it had to come about from a need, either a need that was met, and
Or
that's how we,
or a
or a
need
need that was
didn't-
not met.
Yeah.
So a need that was not met by your words. You wanted someone to say something in a significant moment, but you didn't get it. And then the acts of service. Why? I think I grew up a lot, and then I realized that acts of service for me is because I felt that showing someone by the things that you do proves, is evidence for
By
love.
action.
Is a proof.
Yep.
Right. So for example, a lot of people struggle with words of affirmation. They'll be like, it's just on your tongue. You say you love me, but when I'm sick, are you going to take care of me?
Yes.
If I'm hungry, are you going to buy food for me?
Yep.
But if you value acts of service, then you realize, hey, you know what? It's beyond that. Right? And then when I got married, when I got to meet a lot of very interesting scholars and speakers, I realized it's even beyond that. It's even beyond acts. Yeah. So I guess definition of love and how we see love evolves. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think this can be a topic where you can talk more in your own video. I would love to hear more
Sure.
about your interpretation of love language. Okay, so
Interesting.
you are a sibling of two,
Yeah.
right? Yourself and your sister.
Yes.
How different are you and your sister?
So how different am I and my sister? Okay,
Yeah.
so my sister is a lot more, I'll definitely say she was extroverted.
Okay.
She's outgoing. She's fun. She plays soccer. She played for Young Women's before. She played as a goalkeeper, as a striker.
Totally a
She's
different person than you.
totally different person. Someone once told me, Sofian, your sister very pretty, ah. What happened to you? They're like,
Do I
very
know
pretty.
that
Like, no, I don't
Okay,
think so.
okay.
They're like, very pretty, ah. What happened to you? They're like, what? So, but she has a lot of, I would say, we respond to our upbringing differently. So there's a theory that says that some people, when you go through things in life, you will either go rebel or you go
Yep.
fight against it, or you will cower inside in your inward world.
Yep.
I was more of the person that go in the inward world.
Yeah.
So she went out and she
Probably
does
because
a lot of outdoor
she
stuff.
see how you are. So in her head, she just tells herself she doesn't want to be like my brother. Sometimes it works that way.
Yeah.
Especially the younger one where they have an example of, if you are this character, you will be in this manner. And usually the elders is the guinea pig lah. So we face a lot more pressure, hardships, compared to the younger siblings. The younger siblings a bit more manja sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Or would you say so? Like your sister is a bit more manja?
Well, I will not stereotype it because that's stereotyping, right?
Okay.
But I think that it reminds me of something that I remember. It's a saying. Okay? It says that we see the world not as it is. We see the world as we are. That means that if two people, me and my sister, we see the same thing, the same birthday celebration going on when we were growing up, the same fights, the same scenario happening in front of us, right? The reality of the situation is not so much what exactly happened, but the meaning that we associated with it and how we interpreted that. So for me, I interpret a lot of things like, okay, I need to go into my own internal world and try to sort things out. For her, it's like, oh, I'll go out, I'm an extrovert, I go out there into the world, right? So I think as I grew up, that's probably where the introversion was formed.
Understand.
And then we learn.
Okay, so from that 17 and then you then move to NS,
Yeah.
So throughout these many years, including NS and then your working life, so how has that helped you in becoming what you are right now, in what you are doing, especially in NS, we knew each other from NS. So we had a stint in police as company commander. So I think that was also a good period that has shaped you in a certain way in how
Absolutely.
because I think company commander, for those of you who knows what our position is that we handle few hundred trainees under our care. How we communicate to them, at once for all of them to understand whether to instill fear or whether to instill respect. How do we instill that kind of thing? So how has that helped you?
Here's the thing. I think that it was a coping mechanism for a need that I didn't have. So I'll explain. So before joining and going to officer cadet school, I was very disappointed in myself because I couldn't get into university.
Okay.
So I studied pharmacy for 3 years, and then at the end of the 3 years, guess what? Hey, I don't want to do this. So I don't want to do pharmacy. And I think a lot of people might be able to relate. Like, I don't want to continue what I studied.
Yep.
And then I saw my friends going to university. I saw people getting jobs. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life still, you know? And then I told myself, I need to prove that I can do something. So I had something to prove. That something to prove was to myself, to other people, that, you know, I can do something. Because your grades are not good enough for university.
Yep.
I'm not going to travel overseas. So I used national service as a way to do that. That's why I pushed so much for becoming an officer.
Yep.
I wanted to be an officer in the army. I really wanted to be an officer in the army. We didn't get it. But we got to be officers in the police force.
Yeah.
A blessing, I would say.
Yeah, I've known him since day one of NS. In fact, we went into the same company in Tekong, SBMT, and then we also went to company commander. It's not company commander, OCT, officer cadet. You know, in police. So yeah, I've seen you grow.
Almost 11, 12 years.
11 years, I think. Yeah, almost 12 years already. Yeah.
So I think that the reason why I wanted to be a leader at that point in time was because I needed to find myself and I needed to prove. I had something to prove. So when I entered at that's why I realized that there's a lot to learn.
To prove. Okay.
I had something to prove.
Yeah.
But when we got that, so we you know, I got the sword of merit. One of the top few cadets.
Yep.
I got a very good posting with you. Was company commander.
Yep.
And then I realized that, you know what's next?
Mm.
What's next, right? Like, I got this thing that I thought will make me happy. Now that I have it, what's next? Like, what is
you still
there?
don't feel fulfilled.
I still felt that it wasn't really what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, there's something more to this.
Something's missing. Yep.
Yeah. So that's why I realized NS taught us a lot on how to find value, not just in your own world, but try to create it out into the real world. Yeah. But it made me question and ask myself, there's more to life than just achievement. I think a common misconception when we talk about success, and I do workshops on this, right? And I talk to people like, okay, most people think that success is about what you get. Can I get the house? Can I buy that car? Can I get that promotion? Become a partner? Run my own company? Get an award? Go up on stage and take that achievement? But I invite them to think that success, when I tell my clients and the people I teach, is not so much about what you get. Success, true success and fulfillment is what you give. If I can give and I focus on giving, no one can take that power away from me. And I'll explain. If you have that watch on your arm and I want that watch from you, and I'm always eyeing that watch, you have power over me. Because as long as you don't give me that watch, right, Phil, I'll be like unhappy. I'm not happy. Like, why is it that I can't get this watch? Like, what's going on? But if I focus as success as what I can give, the things I can do for you, no one can ever stop me from becoming who I am. So I realized through that training, besides the whole physical, mental, emotional, and communication, it's all about your perspective on life. It has to be a focus on giving, not so much on what you want to get. And the irony of life is, the more you focus on giving, you get things by default as a side effect. That's the greatest irony.
So I think this is a good point that you make, because a lot of people out there think that for them to achieve something, they just need to receive. You know, okay, what is in it for me, rather than what can I give, you know, to attract what I need. You know, so I think you and I, we work in similar way, where for us to receive anything or to achieve a certain level, we need to be prepared to give value. You know, to give something we have the power over others. Okay, so just wanna ask this. So throughout these growing years, were there any role models that you look up to, that have, you know, inspired you? If let's say it's your parents, then it's your parents, or if there's anyone else who is your role model.
Model. I think your trainees will say it's you, right?
Yeah, really? I know one role model from NS, and I'm sure it's the same as you as well. Is our favorite OC.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
How can we not?
Yeah, how can we not? Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's one
role model. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, my role model, and that's a great question because who we aspire to be, it will impact who we become.
Yep.
Right? If you really admire football players, you want to go to it. For me, it was the public speakers and
Yeah.
the leadership consultants. Like, for example, Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, all these
Yep.
people growing up. And because of that, it shaped a lot of who I am. I read so many books, man, since I was 17. Even before it became a thing, before podcasts, Spotify became a thing,
Yeah.
it was audio tapes.
Yep.
So I would buy all those audio. I'll not buy, sorry, I borrow from the library because it's all free.
Yep.
And no one's borrowing it. So I have it all. Can just borrow the audio tape and play. And so people like Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, he wrote a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. He became a lawyer.
Yep.
And then for me, another stage of my life was when I met international and local scholars, psychologists, community leaders, because I volunteered. Yeah, so my life changed. I can safely say that when I started to volunteer. And the reason why I come up with so much of these learnings, insights, and realization is not because I'm so great, but because I saw these people doing their thing. Right? So what happened was that I stumbled upon an organization called Salt Ilahi, and I volunteered. I think in 2013 or 2014 I started. Yeah. So that changed my life because they organized conferences to bring scholars, psychologists from all around the world, UK, Scotland, Senegal, or Africa. And we had a conversation on social issues like depression, divorce, loneliness, social issues. And I sat and I heard people's stories, how people got married and then they got divorced, how people married someone outside of their race or religion, and how they had tumultuous relationship with the family, how people who are elderly and then they struggle with being old, and the fact that they are lonely now, people who are young who feel lonely, who don't feel understood, people who struggle with addiction, like drugs, people who from the music scene who inspired me so much because the founders are from the music. The founder is from the music scene. His name is Khalid Ajmain and his wife Ainun Harun. So they both founded the organization, and what I did was I spent time to volunteer. I was a volunteer manager. I served the scholars, the guests that come down. We kind of like drove them around, make tea for them. So I have one story to share.
Okay.
I remember very clearly. I forgot. I think it was my first or second year of volunteering. So the scholar came, I believe, from UAE. He's a scholar.
Okay.
He went to the residence and I was with him. Came back from the talk. Then he said, Abu Sofian, can you come and help me make some tea? I would like to have some tea. I said, okay, sure, Sheikh. No problem. So I ran over to the kitchen. And this house was owned by one of our volunteers, senior volunteers, Sidi Ashik, Brother Ashik. I went to the kitchen and then I was like, then I realized, oh no. I went out and I said, Sheikh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to make tea.
Oh.
I was like, okay. I don't know how to make tea.
Okay.
And I was like, I zoned out, I blanked out. Then he was like, it's okay. Go to the kitchen, take the kettle and the tea bags and pour hot water.
He taught you?
Yeah, and come out. I told all these things I brought up. Then he showed me. And then he showed me, okay, put the tea bags, he pour the tea in, maybe some very little sugar. And I was floored by his humility. This was a person that memorized Quran, that had mastered languages and was sitting on boards, highly sought after scholar, but so humble. And he embraced me with compassion. Like, this kid doesn't even know how to make tea. Like, how can it be? But he was so kind. He was so embracing. And it changed me. It changed me from the inside out. Like, it made me realize that, hey, wow, you can be someone accomplished, successful, influential, right, in the community, in your business, and you can also be a really kind person to other people. You don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to choose. Like, we know some talks like you only have to be a certain way, and it's not. But he taught me that you can embrace people still. Right? And in that small moment, I learned more and I remember more than probably sitting in hours of lectures in my entire life. That small moment of him teaching me how to make tea.
Wow.
Those moments.
There's one of the simple yet impactful moment in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that actually developed a certain character in you just from that one simple moment.
I
Making tea.
didn't know how to make tea, bro. So embarrassing to say, but yeah.
No, but
I'm
if you
learning.
knew how to make tea, that wouldn't happen.
True.
Right?
Yeah. And I think it was really just Allah, my God's way of showing me, you know what, bro, you need to go and learn all these things. So yes, I tell my wife, yes, I do know how to make tea now. So
Thanks to that share. Okay, lovely. Okay, so when did you realize that okay, let's go straight to it where during working life and everything, when did you realize that you need to make that leap of faith to pursue what you are really passionate for, and how did that come about? The kind of challenges or obstacle that you face. Maybe you can share a bit more on that.
how did I know that I wanted to jump into this thing, right? So I knew that I wanted to speak. I know that I had a knack for that. I think it was really seeing people who were very supportive. So I met one fellow, I call him Abang, but he's been in this industry longer, Benjamin Low. And I met up with him, and he kind of gave me that support that, you know what, there's nothing stopping you from going to industry if you want to.
Yeah, and at that point of time, you're not married yet.
At that point in time, I think
Oh,
with him, that I was already married.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
when I
okay,
wanted
okay.
to go into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really people in my life who kind of told me, hey, you know what, you can do something like that.
Yep.
You can push. Yeah. You can grow. You just need courage to do that. So one of the things that shaped me in terms of obstacles, right? So one of the things that shaped obstacles in terms of identity shifting moments were when I joined a coaching program. So I joined a coaching program. I remember it till this day. That coaching program helped me to realize that there's more to life than what I'm really doing. And coaching is a very powerful tool. It's not mentoring. Mentoring is I'm a few steps ahead of you. Just follow what I do, you'll get my result. Right? And very closely linked. And teaching is I'm lecturing, do this, information transfer or workshops. But when it comes to coaching and the world of coaching is the answers are inside you. But a very good coach and a master coaches, they call it, they can draw it out from you. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them draw it out from you by just sitting in their presence, they can draw it out. Like you suddenly want to say stuff. Some of them, they ask really good questions.
Yep.
So I always say, you want a better answer in life, ask a better question.
Yep.
They are masters at asking really good questions.
Yep.
And it made me realize that, I need to relook at my life. And that's why I realized when I had my own coaches, like Augustine and all these people came into my life, and I realized, you know what, it's a transformational thing. And I realized, why not marry the two, coaching, my ability to speak, and what my experiences with South Lahi volunteering, to go out there and give to the world and focus on giving. So that energy now is like being pushed out, like let's go and give up. Yeah. Not to change the world, so to speak, but when I help people to realize things about themselves, the world change. I'm not trying to change the world like in terms of politics, so to speak, but when you realize certain things, for example, you realize your entire life that the reason why you were so shy, the reason why you have no confidence, the reason why you look down on yourself, self-pity, is because when you were growing up, your mom said things about you, like you can't, good for nothing, you're stupid, and until now you're still dependent on that person's approval. Things like that, you see. And these are things that my clients tell me. So I'm very privileged to be able to listen to such stories. Right? In terms of obstacles wise, I think that I learned a lot from my wife. I learned a lot from growing up, the whole traveling, Johor, and I think that has shaped me a lot. So another thing I want to share is I also traveled to places like Morocco, Fez, and Senegal. So I remember I went to Senegal with two other friends. So it was the first time I was in the African continent ever.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but we knew people there. So we traveled across, and I remember being in Senegal, and it changed my entire life. I kid you not. We reached there 3 a.m. 3 a.m. after a flight we take a car ride, 6 hours. Once we reached, the first thing I saw was the dome of the mosque. But when I reached at 3 a.m., I remember people took our bags up to where we were staying. 3 a.m. They carry the bag for us. They insist, no, don't carry. I take up 3 a.m. And then the next day, and every morning after that, every time when it came for breakfast, they gave us 2 French loaf and tuna and orange juice. Every morning they sit with us and they serve us on a dulang, a tray. When our toilet was choked, guess who was the one that had to clean it? Not us, but it was them. They cleaned the toilet for us. And here's the thing, Fir. The ones who were doing all these things, doing what we call khidmah or service, they memorized the entire Quran. And they were people who were young scholars in the religion. They were young scholars. They had so much knowledge, but they never saw themselves as, I'm a somebody. You should know who I am. In fact, they even lowered themselves so much with so much humility and were like, let me do it for you. Let me help you. Let me share. It changed my life. And like, this kind of world-class hospitality, they serve us the best of food. Lamb, beef, best of food, vegetables. And with so much heart. So this is how I formulate some of the names of my program, Gold Mine in You, because I realized that Africa is a gold mine, but people don't see it. They see it for their material gold, but the true essence of quality and value is the quality of your service.
Was it because it's number one, their culture of doing so, and then secondly, it becomes a norm where you said they memorize the whole Quran and everything. So it has become such a norm where everyone else memorize the Quran. So it's just nothing for them. Whereas for us, where we grew up in Singapore, where memorizing the Quran is a huge thing, not all can commit to that. So to us, we see it as something very honorable in that sense, where we look highly on these people.
And here's my reflection on it, right? Because of my experience in South Lahi, I never saw things as black and white anymore. For example, if you memorize the Quran, you become as ustaz, means you are ultimately good, all good. If you are whatever other background, you're all bad. And then I realized there are a lot of nuances in our community. Like, you could do A, but still be very dishonorable in B. That can exist in 2 different people. So in Singapore, I realized that, when I saw them memorizing Quran, for me, what really touched me more, not so much of the fact that they did that, but was the humility that they had, that knowledge. Whatever knowledge it is, whether real estate, speaking, financial advisors, sales, business, right? But the humility.
Would you say we are lacking in humility as a community here?
Well, I wouldn't say we're lacking. I would just say that it's something that needs a lot more focus on. A lot more focus on that aspect.
Because we are too focused on achievements, material stuff.
So there's nothing wrong with having material, but there's a saying that, how do you define arrogance? Right? Arrogance is when you deny the truth. It's not about wearing nice clothes, not having really a big house, a nice car, but it's when someone presents you the truth and you deny that. Like I say, hey, this is a red chair, and you deny, no, it's not. That's arrogance, to deny that. So I think that definition for me helped me a lot. So I don't think like we lacking humility, so to speak. But even if, for example, even if we were inspectors and one of our recruits, trainees, told us something that was the truth, despite us being higher rank, we should acknowledge that and affirm that they came with the truth.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So this was your time in Senegal was during NS, right? That was the time.
This was...
Oh, that was after
NS.
After NS, right? The one that you went during NS was Morocco.
Yes, Morocco? I think so. Morocco,
yeah. I remember that time where you suddenly went abroad and missing. Not in contact. Okay, actually, the earlier question that I asked was the obstacle when you first jump into this, taking the leap of faith. Like, what was the challenges in terms of drawback from a lot of people, family, doubts from probably even your wife, how was
So I think it's a very good question.
Yeah.
And when I interview people, I ask them as well, what were some of your challenges, right? So one is definitely a lot of question, right? Aku betul ke tak ni? Like, is this for real?
Yep.
Am I for real that I'm going to do this? So the self-doubt is the first one that comes in, right? First is denial. You denial that you want to do this. Then when you say, okay, I want to do this, then you question. So the whole, like, what's the word that we throw on now? Like, imposter syndrome, right? Like, am I really someone that can do this? Imposter syndrome, right? And there's a healthy imposter syndrome and a bad imposter syndrome.
Yep.
The healthy imposter syndrome is when you use it to get better. So that you're actually helping people.
Yep.
You're becoming more skilled. The unhealthy one is when you make claims about who you are, what you can do, and then you don't do it. So my challenge was a lot of that. Self-doubt, thinking I can't do this, I'm not good enough. I wasted time, and now I'm starting. So
self-doubt, you have it, but do you have limiting belief? Or actually you do believe yourself, it's just that you are questioning whether is this right?
I don't think, if you define limiting beliefs as, do I believe that I cannot influence and impact the world, then I never had that.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact today I still would say that my message is really like global.
Interesting.
It's never something local. Or think global, act local. So my challenge was that self-doubt, right? And overcoming the real business challenge would be things like, a lot of things you don't know. So it's what we call ignorance depth. In business, there's a lot of things you have to learn. You have to learn about sales. You have to learn about marketing. You have to learn how to find leads. You have to learn how to make a really good offer. You have to learn how to pitch. You have to learn how to hire, recruit, and then how to build a brand. Right? All these things that school probably can teach you, but not like the school of hard knocks, which is life. And that's where the real punch comes in. Like, oh no, I don't know nothing about sales. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know anything about building a brand. How can I even help people if I can't do these things? So as much as I want to build a speaking business, which is what we're doing, to help people find their value and communicate their value to the world, I need to know how to do sales. And I realized that a lot of people that I was helping, some freelancers, they're very good, bro. Like, they know how to make videos, edit videos, but they don't know how to sell their product. And worse still, sometimes they do everything for free, sometimes at a huge discount, and sometimes they don't know how to charge more or charge in a way that can serve their business, can run their business. So I realized that a lot of it was not limiting belief, but more of like, we don't know, the ignorance that they don't know that this is a reality. And when you sit with people who, that is their reality, like this is normal for us to think about offers, think about how to scale, think about retention, like not just get the client for one day, one time, but for the whole year, then your reality change. Yeah, so my reality changed when I mixed around with people who were, like, I told you this, I remember sitting in front of people who like made their first 6 figures very young, now probably earning 7 figures and more. And I interview people like, people who founded really big companies, and it really changed the way I thought about money, thought my relationship with building a business. So my struggle was a lot on, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the abilities and beliefs yet, but I'm going to find people who have that. And as you sit with them and talk to them, it gets transferred over. It rubs off on you. Yeah, you really become the 5 people you're closest with.
And the 5 people that you're closest with right now? Is there anyone that is in your circle where you feel that, they are the people that you model after? Because, there's this saying also, it's not just any 5 people. You'll be good if you are the worst of the 5 people. And then that's when you will keep on motivating yourself that, I want to model this person, I want to model this person. Yeah.
Before I answer that question, I'll clarify that it doesn't mean you become the 5 people you're with, doesn't mean that everyone else is nonsense, Because there's some people who be like, I only want to hang out with 5, everybody else, but and then you start treating people like bleep that out, because of whatever, right? But it's not that. It just means that you have to consciously be intentional about who you spend time with, and then meet everybody else. Be kind to everybody else. right? But who you want to grow with, that 5, is I would say people who ground you, people who align with your values, and people who, some people in your 5 might have aspirations that that they're already living that reality. So it's good to, and here's the thing, you can hack that. If you don't have that now, you can hack it. And I realized I did it when I was 17 by reading books. So I read biographies of these people who I wanted to become. I read their books. I look at their biography. I watched their videos. They were like they were closer to me than maybe even my parents, because I was always listening to them. I was always learning from them. So whoever that person is that you're always listening to, that's probably one of the people that you can consult.
Okay. How about resistance from people though? Because just I mentioned about having questions from close ones or anyone. Resistance from people. Okay, reason why I ask, because I'm sure a lot of many other out there who wants to take that leap of faith, but of course their spouse will question them. Will put this doubt in their head. Self-doubt is common. Is natural. But for someone to put the doubt in you is another. Spouses, friends, colleagues, parents. Like, what was some of your resistance that you get from people?
I'll tell you this, okay? So when I first started to go into this one topic called Agile. Agile is a way of doing work. I got my certification. And then it was a coaching certification. And I remember someone randomly out of the blue on LinkedIn just messaged me. He said that, wow, you just got your certification and now you're already a coach, right? And it was it felt like I felt so down. I told my wife about it, like, why is this person saying these things about me? Like, I didn't know who he was. He was much older than me. Like what threat is a newcomer, to your business? So I didn't want to go into all these things, but it was all these words that like who are you to be doing this? They question your authority, and that's the problem. Where young people, like, we want to do stuff, but people like, you got no experience, like, or aku lagi makan garam daripada kau, or like, I eat more salt than you eat rice. These kind of comments, and I think that these were the challenges I had when I was still building. I am still building it, and I realized that the objection or the challenges with these people come just to test you.
How long has it been again? Ever since you jump?
I would say about less than 2 years. Okay. Still less than 2 years. So but I already got quite I remember someone commented on one of the video I posted, because of I said the word, but I typed the right word. But it was he said, so it was a very, these kind of comments that leave you with very bad taste. And it can really affect you a lot. Which I'm sure because you're on social media, right? You have your famous letter knocking video. Right? And it might impact you because you'll be like, this is like cheap marketing kind of stuff. I saw the comments. Like, how do you build yourself up? So I took that and I realized that having a supportive person is very important. For me, it was my wife. My wife, Natasha, very supportive. And we always do what we call co-reflect. Sometimes we'll talk like late night, like 11, 12, like even past 12, just talk about marriage, life. And we love to talk about, remember the good moments in our early when we first got married. So we always like to recap all the positive moments. There's a doctor called Dr. John Gottman. He said that he can predict if people were to stay together or not. And he said that the predictor would be how many bits of connection do you make. When someone, your spouse feels upset, do you like, hey, what's wrong? Or do you just like, I just want to go into the room and do my own thing? These are small sliding door moments. If it adds up, like your bank account, right? The more you let go of these things, the more it will slip. Obviously, one moment does not change everything. It can, like, when you say, it's a build-up. It's a build-up. So, I realized that having a support system like a wife, a spouse, a husband, or a family member that you trust, and you don't just tell these things to anyone. It has to be people that have wisdom, that care for you, and they want the best for you.
I feel touching on this is a good a good thing to bring up, because I feel the number one killer that I wasn't killer, but the number one thing that actually start this unhealthy habit is when you think your spouse can handle things on their own. You know, where they say, yeah, he got it. And then when for example, the husband is facing difficulty, then yeah, he got it. It's okay. You get it. You handle this well.
Yeah, go.
No, yeah. So I think that's the number one, or I would say not the number one, but one of the main things where it will start off this detachment, where you are not attentive enough, or you are not you don't empathize with that person and say the right thing, you know, and then the other party will feel like, I cannot relate to you anymore. You know, I cannot talk to you anymore. You know, I think that's one of the reason why there's this detachment.
And to give another context, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, we become, for example, just use weight as an example, right? We gain a lot of weight not because of that one Big Mac that you ate.
Yep.
Because over time, there are many things we did, sleep, stress, that added up to become that.
Yeah.
And it's very true in sales, in business, you know, it's the same thing. It's the small things that add up. So I think that having supportive people that can guide you along is good. Yeah.
How was your colleagues or in the workforce when you told them, I'm gonna leave and do this coaching? This is very uncertain for you. It is, especially when you're now gonna transition into a self-employed, where even income is very uncertain. You know, as much as you want to follow your passion, but you know, you also have a family to raise.
Yeah.
You know, your livelihood to manage. So yeah, how I mean
Yes. So I think that when you start to walk your own path, when a path, or rather, I think I'll put it this way: when a path opens up for you, rather than you think that the path is for you, right? When a path opens up for you, it's a clue. So you start walking it, right? Then you realize that you're walking away from the masses or your crowd or your friends or colleagues or whoever, right? And that's where you will be a lot of more like focus being put on you.
Yep.
So I think that how I struggled with it was I really had very good support system.
Okay.
My wife and I volunteered. And because I volunteered, I was always listening to other people's problems. Always. People getting divorced, people wanting to get married, people who struggling with things in their life, you know, depression, you know, and I realized that we're all really human. We're all really human. And just because you hear of someone going through something doesn't make me any better. It's a lesson for me to learn from each other. Right? And I learn from them, we share. Right? And that's how I cut out, so to speak, cut out all the noises. Cut out all the noises. You see what I did there?
Yep.
It's an inside joke there. It's like
So a long time reference. Okay.
yeah. So that's how I cut out all of the noises.
Yep.
And just keep going. Yeah. And you know, I have teachers. You know, Shemahi Sise, who I will text and then I'll ask, and then you'll get advice. So I have mentors as well. So it's very important to always be learning, because the moment you are successful, right? There's a saying, right? Nothing feels like success. Because once you're successful, you think you know. It's very dangerous. You think you already know about your industry. You think that you're somebody, and then you treat people, so to speak, like trash, like differently. And then that's it. There's a sign that you're going to dip. Right? So I have people to remind me, to push me. And I'm always learning from people much more advanced than me. People who might not be quote advanced, but people who have something that I want to learn from. Yeah. Mentors. I still have mentors. I'm still getting coached.
Actually, one of the reason why, just FY, also one of the reason why I'm doing this talk show was actually to increase my learning spectrum, you know, because I know I can learn from a lot of people from different industries. You know, as much as I know a lot of things in my own industry, but I don't know everything. So with this kind of conversation, that's when I can learn a lot. You know, whatever that for the past almost 1 hour that we spoke, you know, I've learned, picked up a few takeaways. Yeah, so this is the reason why, and just I can totally resonate with what you say. You know, the moment you feel that you are someone who knows it all, and you start to talk to someone else lowly or differently, that's you've reached the pinnacle where sooner or later you'll drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing, because I was so into self-help so early, right? Because I saw a lot of pitfalls.
Yeah.
Like don't be a self-help junkie also. Don't like a junkie. Like you learn so much and then you think you know. Like, okay, I'm fine because I'm always learning. That's also a danger. So there's a lot of nuances here.
Yeah.
Like, you're learning. But be careful because there's a lot of possible ways that might lead to your downfall. So I think that that's why when I work with people, right, I always focus on and I emphasize on inner work.
Inner work, okay.
Yeah, because it's those things that's going on inside of you that matter, and how you see the world. Right, how you see the world is everything. Right, your life can change just like that, just by changing the way you see things in a real way, not like your theory.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm glad that you're always learning, and we are always learning from each other. And
you always catch up, and then I can always pick up something from you, and I hope it's vice versa for you as well. Okay, so for the past 2 years, so were there moments where you felt like giving up? I mean, no doubt you have supportive people, but were there moments where you felt like you just want to give up, that split moment? Yeah, I mean, you didn't give up eventually, but were there moments where you question yourself again?
Giving up,
your path, like, I
Yeah.
feel like this is not working out, or I'm facing such a huge difficulty right now.
I think I already gave up, man. I gave up
okay.
when I was 17. I knew that that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't do anything about it. I didn't do. I didn't start a business. I didn't meet other speakers. So I really kind of gave up on that dream a long time ago. But the reason why it rekindled again is because I took action. Yeah, and only as of late. And what leads to action is in coaching what we call courage. Yeah, courage is a big predictor of will you be a good employee or not, will you be a good spouse or not, will you be a good partner or not, will you perform well in the job or not. To have courage, because a lot of our greatest growth lies beyond our fear. So the fear was like, I'm gonna fail, I can't do this. Now it's like, doesn't mean I'm not gonna face any challenges, but I know why I want to do it, because I've aligned the experience in Senegal, the volunteer work, now my experience speaking, and now with coaching, I've aligned it to the vision for the company, which is contribution to humanity, right? Through speaking, through teaching people how to communicate their value. So it's all very aligned. And I would echo what Steve Jobs said. He said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots when you look backward. Right? So only now you can look back and, me traveling to and fro Malaysia and Singapore, it taught me time management, taught me how to learn. Yeah, the struggle of me being in events line for 6 years, it was very tough life. Step in the office, all these things, it taught me how to be practical and realistic. Don't be so idealistic. Get it done in the real world, which is a problem for myself, and I in my own experience, creatives in general. Right? So all of these things are clues. So I use all of that instead. So now I use all these dots for my future ahead. And here's the best part, you don't really know where it's going to go still. Yeah, so that's where it can go anywhere.
So for these past 2 years that you've been, a keynote speaker, consultant, coach, what has been your biggest achievement that you feel, thus far, I've considered, the biggest?
I think to answer your question point blank directly, I think one of the biggest things was to give a keynote speech in the first place. And that was because I was invited to speak at the Freelancers Academy, my first ever keynote speech. That changed everything for me. Yeah, and that kind of changed my belief that I can or cannot do this. They invited me, and I had a great session with them. They loved it, and it set me on a different path already. Yeah, so to me that was one of the greatest achievements. Again, I define it as what I can give, right? So for me, my greatest contribution is still ongoing. I still really do want to have a global impact, right? Because I believe.
I remember you wanted. You told me you wanted to be a global coach or something. There was a term that you used.
Global speaker.
Global speaker, yes.
Someone who does a global impact, right? Because I believe that the work inside all of us, right? You, me, there is something, a message. I call it the gold mine in you. There's something inside of you that you need to dig, right? So Farah's digging, Hakimi's digging, you are digging. Everyone's digging their own well. So you're digging, right? The problem is we are looking at other people's well. We're like, hey, Hakimi's well is so deep. Wow, there's like water gushing out. Like Farah's well, wow, amazing. There's like flowers and there's greenery. But the question to ask is, how about your own well? Like what have you been doing for your own digging? It doesn't matter about other people's well. But yours can still be dug, right? You can still dig. So that's where the concept, one of the frameworks I use, which is Gold Mine in You, is to tap into your own journey. And it's more powerful and transformative that way.
This is good, it's powerful, because even for myself, I'm guilty of comparing myself with another, to a point where I lost focus on what I'm doing, but instead on what they are doing. You know, there's a saying where the only competition that you should care most is who you were yesterday, you know, rather than all the other person. So every day, how can you improve yourself? How can you be better? So there's a very, very important and powerful message, actually, for digging your own well, taking care of.
And what I realized is that the digging part, right, is very confusing. So there's a saying that one of the scholars said, Sheikh Abdulaziz Frederick, he's from Scotland, he came to Singapore for a talk. He said this, he said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Because I didn't know what I want. And many people, when I was managing volunteers, said, Sofian, I don't know what to do. I can't do design, I can't do videos, I can't talk. What should I do? I said, just pick a role, make tea, serve someone, drive them. Can you drive? Can you help to pull the blinds? Can you help to adjust logistics? Do something, serve. When you do that, right, things open up. And the beauty is the more you do these things, right, it opens up opportunities and you become more self-aware of who you are and what you do. And I talk about this in a framework called the Clarity Framework. One of the components of the Clarity Framework is the more you have opportunities to learn, the more you can serve and learn, the more you know who you are by going out. That's why people go for solo trips, all these things.
Wow. Interesting. You have all these concepts that you mentioned. Was it from you that you came up with, or?
I would say I got a lot of inspiration. So I read books, watch videos, but now I'm starting to create a lot more things.
Reason why I ask, because maybe there are some who watch this video who also aspire to be, you know, who you are right now. So they are unclear on their path, you know, how to be who you are right now. Like, are they supposed to create a new concept of their own, you know, maybe we can shed light a bit on that.
So the word creation is a very powerful word in coaching, because I mean, the watch, someone created that, your mic, someone created that, and if you think about it, the best business people, people in design, video, they create stuff, they create good quality stuff. So I think that one of the most powerful ways to become a better person and grow is to create stuff, to focus on creating, because creating is very close to serving. You're helping someone. I want to make tea for someone. You create a glass of tea. So you're creating things, you're putting things together, and as you create more, you know more about yourself. So I think for anyone who wants to know more about themselves and wants to embark on a journey of knowing it, should I do this job, that job, go and serve, find people who have wisdom, find people who have knowledge and who are safe. In safe meaning, they want the best for you, and they care for your heart, right? There's no guilt tripping there, gaslighting, the term we use now.
Okay, so we are a creature of habits. Maybe you can share with me what are some of your habits or routines, you know, in your daily lives, or in how you do your work, that contribute to your success right now, or contribute to your success or all your achievements.
Good question. I think that first and foremost, I think success, I still don't think I have this like shiny thing like success. I'm on that path still to learn about myself. For me, right, good question, because I define success as me knowing myself. The more I know about myself, the more I do work that knows myself, right, the more successful I am. And I'm still a long way. And I feel that the habits that I've done to a certain extent, habits will help you. So goals, so I have a framework called the Giver framework, right? The G stands for goal clarity. To a certain extent, having clear goals will help you. But the I of the Giver framework, like intentional follow through, do you follow through on your goals? Right? The V is value communication. Can you communicate your value? The E is empathic connection. Can you have empathy to someone? And the R, restrain lower self, is can you stop yourself from self-pity, from doing things that undermine your brand, that undermine the work that you want to do. Because you could have 20 years of really good success, and then in 20 seconds, everything goes because of something that you do. So that's why the R is one of the most important things. So restrain lower self. You got to restrain that. So some people do intermittent fasting. I don't really do that. Some people are on keto because they manage the sugar, or they are on low carb because it keeps you sharp. For me, it's a lot of co-reflection. For me, what worked for me is co-reflection and serving people. And now I do a lot of creating stuff. I love to create stuff. My wife bought for me an iPad for my birthday. It's not my birthday yet, but she bought for me.
Your birthday is in a month's time.
Yeah, and I'm creating a lot of frameworks. I'm creating a lot of stuff, and I enjoy it so much. And when I create stuff, and here's the thing: like in our industry, the more we create, the more original we become. In marketing, they call it a niche of one. Like I work with real estate agents, financial advisors, right? A lot of them, the market is so saturated, right? Like, why should I want you? Why should I go with you and not someone else? So there's a concept called a niche of one. Like, how do you make it such that you are really the only person that do what you do? And it's through some things like the stories that you have, the conversations that you can have with them. What are some of the insights that you have that they don't? And another thing would be your unique method of doing it, right? Do you have a unique method of helping someone, right? Do you solve a problem that other people don't want to solve? What are those problems? So there are many ways to differentiate yourself. So again, back to answering the question, I think that the habits is to create stuff. Right? The more you think about stuff and then create, and it doesn't have to be perfect there and then, doesn't have to be the perfect video. That's why my social media quality production is always my first or second iteration. Like, okay, I'm just going to push it out, get feedback, and then, improve.
I love that. Talk about habit is always, something that is more tangible in the sense where, I exercise, I have discipline in doing certain things, but the habit of creating though, that's very important, especially in our line, in our job as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, habit of creating, knowing that every day you need to dedicate yourself, your time and effort to create something.
I'll go a step further. I really want to add a lot of value to this podcast because I think what you're doing is great.
Lovely.
And the team is amazing. Shout out to the team.
Lovely.
Farah, Hakimi, and the rest. I want to add value here. So there's creating. If I were to draw a triangle, right, there's creating stuff, right? Then also co-reflection. That's a big part of it. Right? So create stuff, have a lot of co-reflection, and focus on working with people. Right? Focus on collaboration as well, because that helps you to see that don't see yourself anymore. You see that we are going to collaborate on a lot of things, and it builds the thing that you're doing. And as you create, as you collaborate, as you co-reflect, you realize that you have what we call clarity. And that clarity is that you know where you're going in life, or you are on the journey of knowing where you want to go. Right? Yeah, you cannot make claims that, hey, I know where I'm going, but you have a lot of support. Now, the thing that really pushes things further for this framework is what we call having good company, which is the next C. Good company is underrated because it's not you are so great that I lasted volunteer work from 2014 till now. But the company that I was in, we push each other to last so long. It's like they say, you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together. You want to go far, you find people who are on the same mission as you. Then you will build something. And on those days when you're going to be down, you're going to falter for sure. You're not going to be tip-top every single day, day in, day out. You're going to have bad days. Your friends will come in. Your company, your colleagues, they will be the one that will help you to push you, continue down the journey. So company, so create, co-reflect, collaborate, and have good company. Right, and keep learning. That's how we get what we call towards clarity.
high value. I think from this episode we've had a lot of good knowledge, good insights from you.
Love to share.
Okay, I just wanna maybe for those of you who wants some recommendation. I'm sure you have some. If you have a book right now for someone to read to start off their journey, what would be that book?
Wow, that's a great question. Loaded question, man. There's so many great books.
Definitely, but if
Too
there's
many great
one book
books.
right now, or if you can give 3, that would be good also, so that they can search out at
Okay, I think one of my most favorite books is
Yeah.
this book called The Alchemist.
The Alchemist. I've
You
heard
love
that,
that book.
but I've not read that. But I've heard
Yeah,
of that.
it's a very powerful book.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it, don't worry.
Okay.
But it's about a book about finding what you're meant to do in the world.
Mm.
It's a very beautiful book. It's a story. It's not a self-help book, not a non-fiction book, but it will help to tap into this like ultimate goal. So The Alchemist is a powerful book. There's another very immensely powerful book. There are too many of them, I can't say. Another one is called The Millennium Discourses. It's a book by this scholar from South Africa, Sheikh Ibrahim Squitema. The Millennium Discourses is a truly profound book about giving, about work, doing good work, right? There are many books. I can't put, but I'll just mention a few, okay? So another book is Ruhul Adab. There's a book called Ruhul Adab, Sheikh Ibrahim. And that book is profound because it's about the soul of having good manners. Because you can be successful but be a really terrible person, right? How do you get both, right? So I think that
It's a
book,
lot more about character, how you are as a person.
ultimately it comes
Yeah.
down to that. If there was another C, it would be character,
Yeah.
which all of that builds your character. And I think Sheikh Ibrahim Nias, who wrote that book Ruhul Adab, he really hit the nail on the head. Right? It's about character.
For someone who wants to learn a lot more about jumping into this entrepreneurial journey, I think what's
So I would say a really good book, again by I think Tony Robbins' book. You can't go wrong with that.
Tony Robbins.
Anthony
Which
Robbins.
book is that?
The one that really changed for me was Awaken the Giant Within. Right?
yeah.
Book by Robin Sharma would be the book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yep.
That's like a fable storybook.
And you've read all this since 17 years old,
yeah.
right? The one that you
Yeah.
mentioned.
And The Greatness Guide by Robin Sharma as well. So there are a lot of great books. Now I'm a lot into like Alex Hormozy.
Yeah, I was about to ask who should we follow aside from
Like he's doing really good work in terms of business
Yeah,
and
Alex
leads
Hormozy.
and sales.
Yeah.
He's got really good content on.
Do you follow Iman Ghazi?
Who?
Iman Ghazi,
I don't
by
think
any
so.
chance? Okay.
Oh yeah. So $100 million leads is his book. $100 million offers is his book. I think
Just a day old.
Just a day old. I'm not promoting the book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now looking back, you are 31 years old.
Oh
Is
man,
that sensitive?
No, it's not anymore.
Yeah, 31 years old.
Yeah.
Looking back, when you were 17 years old, is there any, a piece of advice that you would like to give that younger self of yours, given how and where you are right now?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
I think that if had I been 17 years old, that kid that didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, still finding my way. I think what I would say is, take an act of courage. Another C. Take an act of courage and go for it. And go for it. Yeah. And because if you don't try to go after your dreams, right, it might be regret. But if you try, you will know whether you want it or not. Yeah. So keep going. Have an act of courage, which is it takes a leap of faith. It really does. In business, in life, selling, it takes a leap of faith. And learning how to deal with rejection. That's a big one. Because the opposite of that is that you be in self-pity mode. That's one of the worst things. The best part, there's this framework called the Karpman Drama Triangle, where people go into 3 states. You are either a rescuer, a victim, or a persecutor. Rescuer just want to help people all the time. at their own expense. Victim, help me, I can't do this, help me.
Yep.
Persecutor just scolds everybody. Like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?
Yep.
Right? If you are in self-pity mode, you'll become a victim too much. And if you don't own up, you don't take accountability for what you can do. So I would tell myself, get out of that and have courage, keep going, keep trying.
Is this the same message for any individuals out there aspiring to achieve greatness?
Wow. Oh, yeah, loaded questions. I think that's, the people that I've met, people I've interviewed, I think a lot of them really, they've been through hardship. I think that's the thing. Like, we want things easy, and sometimes I remind myself, it cannot be easy. It has to be hard. It cannot be easy. What I want, it cannot be easy. It has to be difficult. That's the thing. We want things too easy. Right? You have to expect the hard. Yeah. So a lot of the scholars, these really amazing entrepreneurs I've met, I've learned from them, some of them are my friends, is that they just really, they have a healthy sense of pessimism. They see life for what it is. So they can see life very clearly. Life is not idealistic, right? They are very realistic, but it doesn't make them pessimistic. So idealistic, realistic, pessimistic. They are very much very balanced, right? Things happen, keep going. They don't sulk, complain, moan, kind of stuff.
Yep.
Neither are they too airy-fairy, head above in the clouds. They're very well-grounded. And the thing that makes you well-grounded is serving people, helping people with their problems, right? Volunteerism, and growing, learning, and having courage, and creating stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, the next question, 2 parts to it. On a short-term one, where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? And second part to it is, what kind of legacy you would like to leave behind in this world?
5 years? I think 5 years' time, raising a very beautiful family. Yeah, I would like to raise a very beautiful family. I would like to be a very present father, because I believe that our children are one of the most purest things ever in the world. Children are very pure. They have what we call fitri nature, very fitra. They are kind. There's no animosity, jealousy, anger. It's very pure. And I would like to be present. I would like to be there as a father to guide them on their journey, and grow. As my business grow, I want them to grow together. I want to integrate them, not to, like, if I succeed, my family has to falter. Right? Too many of us, we drop, juggling so many balls, we drop one of them. But one of them is family, and that's glass. So I would want to focus on being a really good father and husband and son-in-law. But also in 5 years' time, I would see myself going to more countries to speak.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Looking forward to that, inshallah.
Yeah. And the kind of legacy like to leave behind.
So the legacy, legacy question is always very tough, because legacy is really about, like...
it's the end goal that you hope to achieve.
Well, we have a vision. Our vision is very simple. It's contribution to humanity. Right? How we achieve that vision is the vehicle, which is the current vehicle I have is a business to reach there. Your business is not all of you. It's not the entirety of your identity.
Yeah.
Because if some people say that, business reflection of you, but not quite. Because if it's 100% of you, then if your business fails, something happens to business, that's who you are. But who are you without your business?
Yeah.
Right? So I believe it's a part of you, a reflection, but it's not everything. It's not everything, right? So for me, legacy, a vision is to contribute to humanity. And I really see our contribution is not to be an idealistic world, but where people have transformed their own selves. Now they know their value, they can communicate it to the world. They can make money for the people that they care about, their families, their loved ones, and the organizations that they care about. Because I've been in non-profits also. They want to learn how to make money for the people, organizations they care about, and they can go and contribute. Yeah.
Interesting. There has been a very fruitful conversation with you.
It's amazing.
I'm so happy to have you here. It's
Nice
a
to talk
good
to you.
start, actually. It's a good first episode with you, none
Thank
other
you so much.
than you, Abu Sofian.
Privilege.
Okay, maybe one last advice for any individuals out there, who are still scared, to take that leap of faith. Before we wrap up, we'll play a certain game,
I knew
but
it. This was coming.
any last
This
advice?
was coming.
Last advice, just a simple takeaways.
So last advice first, then the game.
Yes, of course.
No, you're gonna let us off the hook.
No,
Okay,
of course
so
not.
last advice first. Wouldn't say it's advice. It's really one of the biggest things that I learned in life when I met all these scholars, teachers, saints, is that the quality of your work comes from the inner work that you do. I give an example. One of the scholars that we interviewed was this scholar called Peter Sanders. He's a world-renowned photographer. He took photos of bands like the Rolling Stones, a lot of very popular bands. When we interviewed him, I remember, he said that the reason why he can create such great artwork, such great photographs, he really released a book, he took photos of really beautiful people, is because he had a lot of inner work. He did a lot of that kind of inner work. And that's why whatever that he created in the world is beautiful. Right?
What kind of inner work?
So inner work has different components. One is your emotional work. Can you manage your emotions when you're feeling really upset, angry, jealous, self-pity, spiteful, all these things, right? Can you manage those? One is emotional work, right? Another, of course, there will be some form of spiritual work that one will have to do, find their own path. And then I believe that a combination of emotional, spiritual, right? I would say physical is important work as well. Yeah. So let me just share this. I really want to add value.
Sure, of
so
course.
this is
Go
from
ahead.
Dr. Mazen Atasi. He's a scholar at Cambridge Muslim College. So he said there are several things that we need for inner work. Right? One is connection to nature. Two, diet and nutrition. Less sugar, more protein. Three, movement and rest. Move more, exercise more. Doesn't have to be gym. Move and rest. Have enough sleep. Important. Four, good companionship. Have good companions, people who can guide you along, sohbah, they call it, resonate with, right? And, I believe 5 is inner work. And that's the 5th one, the inner work. So all this adds up to the inner work that you have to do, that you can do. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks a lot for that.
No problem.
For that sharing so much value that you've put into this episode. This is gonna be a good long episode, but we're gonna cut it out.
Valuable.
And I'm sure whoever that is watching this or listening to this will learn a lot. But let's wrap this up with a game. So how we gonna play this game is, I know for your own talk show you have a game as well to end it off. So of course I won't let you off the hook. And I took reference from another podcast as well. Some podcast that I really love listening. So how it's gonna go about is that I'm gonna give you a few words, and when I say that certain word, just tell me what comes to your mind, either a phrase or a word, and yeah, just
Okay.
let's just play this.
Let's try.
All right. Okay. So the first word is wealth.
Service.
Service. Maybe you can.
Wealth is service because the more you can give, like I said, the more you feel satisfied. But you could have the biggest houses, the cars. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying a perspective to look at it. You could have the biggest houses, but you feel really empty inside. You're only one person who can fit in one room. You can't fit in all 15 of your bedrooms. So true wealth is when you give and serve. When you can find a purpose to serve, right? It's profound. I've experienced it, and I know scholars who have shared it before. People would go to war to have that sense of peace and fulfillment. So wealth is service.
Okay. Family.
Love. Love. What is love?
He's a singer, by the way.
Oh, am I?
Right. The third one is hardship.
Growth.
Lovely, because that's the fourth word that I wanted to ask you is actually growth.
I read your mind.
Growth.
Coaching
Okay.
teaches you to read minds.
Right. So yeah, fourth maybe growth.
Discomfort.
That's That's great.
Yeah.
And last but not least, of course, success.
Lose yourself in the service of others.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for your time today.
Thank you
It's
so much.
been a
Appreciate
great
it.
pleasure to have you on board.
Appreciate
Maybe
it.
you can share with them a bit how can they, follow you. How can they follow you or follow your work, and
Yeah.
if there's anything that you can do for them, or they can get in touch with you for any services that they would need. Yeah,
Sure.
all yours.
Where do I look at? This one, this one.
This camera.
Hi guys, I help you find your value and to communicate your value to others. If you are doing sales, you're a financial advisor, real estate agent, you're someone doing service to people, and you want to do better, you feel that work is more than just work, you want to have meaning, and you want to be successful as well at the same time, hit me up. I would love to work with you. And if you're a conference organizer, I would love to speak at your next event.
Where can they follow you, brother?
I'm on LinkedIn, Abu Sofian Yunus, and on Instagram, Abu Sofian Speaking.
Once again, thank you so much,
Thank you so
bro,
much. Appreciate
for having me to be the first interviewer to talk a lot more about your life,
Yeah, you
your
are the first
success.
interviewer. That's true.
Alright, so Firdaus here. Thank you so much for watching this first episode of Behind Their Success, where we'll interview other individuals who have achieved in their own ways, and I'll be looking forward to produce more videos for you. So do spread the love, share this video, and do follow us on all of our social medias. So I'll see you next time. See ya.